let's get into what people are discovering within the newly released records. And for that, we go back to Riley. Riley, what stands out for you?
I mean, there's a lot, but I guess I'll start by saying, number one, look, I understand all of the intrigue and the theories about what's going on. This was a profoundly world-changing event and really just a classic American tragedy. So, I mean, such a beloved president by people all over the political spectrum. So I understand where people are coming from. They don't want to just accept the fact that maybe some twisted, evil psychopath could kill the sitting president of the United States. I get why it's hard to accept that. Yeah. But I've been looking through a lot of these files and there's still new information coming to light, but I don't see anything that goes against the idea that Lee Harvey Oswald killed the president and did it alone. So I know there's a lot of debate about this, but I haven't seen anything yet that would confirm to me that that isn't what's going on. So like you've said before, I think sometimes people just don't want to accept the fact that something evil like that could just happen in plain sight, in broad daylight.
Yeah, that is what I was talking about with you a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
And that is exactly that. People don't really want to accept that a very simple thing can happen and cause the world to change.
Yes.
You know, you look at 9/11, for instance. Few hijackers hijack a plane, send it into the World Trade Center, changes the whole world. And people always wanted to say that there was conspiracy theories behind that. There had to be something more behind it. And people have been saying that about this JFK assassination for decades now. There had to be something more behind it.
A plot.
It couldn't have, exactly. It couldn't have just been Lee Harvey Oswald. And, you know, that makes for great stories and conspiracies, but you know, as far as I can tell, everything I've ever seen, you know, I'm not one to be a government shill and just believe anything that the government tells you.
Yes.
But, you know, I believe that really is what happened. And I haven't really seen anything from the JFK files that's come out so far. Now, it is going to take time. There's somewhat near 60, 70, 80,000 files, something like that.
Absolutely.
So we won't know the full story for maybe weeks or months. But so far, the little drips and drabs that have come out, the sleuths online, I don't really see anything that changes the narrative. That seems like there was a solitary gunman. There was no other shooter over the grassy knoll or anything like that. So to me, the bigger takeaway is that regardless of what is gleaned from these files being released, the bigger point is that Donald Trump is actually ushering in this new era of transparency,
the disclosure,
and getting this information out to the American public so we can decide for ourselves what happened.
Absolutely.
And it's a lot better that way than to have these continue to be kept under seal for 6 decades.
Well, that's the
now.
thing. The secrecy enabled that. They opened the floodgates to conspiracy theorists by not just disclosing from the start what actually happened. And I get it. There's national security concerns and safety concerns. Fine, fair enough. But almost 70 years later, I mean, we deserve to know what really happened. No more redactions, all the files released. So having said that, what we are learning about right now is the CIA and some of the stuff they were up to during the Cold War over the course of the 60s, the 70s, and beyond. For example, in the name of combating communism, they were infiltrating civilian activist organizations and even creating fake ones, like one called the Union for Revolution.
Really?
They were disguising intel assets as students to conduct covert operations and gather intelligence. They were working even with the Catholic Church to combat the spread of communism, which I think is actually kind of funny. So I will say one thing that's really interesting is we're learning a lot still, maybe not about JFK, but about the deep state, the swamp, permanent Washington, and all of the things they've done to allegedly protect the American people. So that's very interesting, and I want to know what kind of implications might come from knowing that information as well.
Well, you know, you're right. The deep state has been around for decades, and it's a new term that we've said over the last maybe 10 years since Trump's been in the picture. But the deep state is real.
Yes.
People don't want to believe that, but that has been around for a long time. And so, while I don't necessarily believe that the government had any role in coordinating the assassination of JFK, I think it is, I would say, maybe probable that somebody within the government did know something and either failed to act or just turn the other way, and because
maybe they didn't take it seriously. Maybe they didn't think it was a credible threat, so they figured, who cares?
And we saw that happen with Trump and Butler.
Absolutely.
At least I think so. There's no way that a security failure like that could have happened without either gross incompetency or somebody just not doing their job or turning the other cheek. So I hope that's not the case, and maybe there'll be more information that comes out about these files that hopefully disproves that, or maybe even does prove it. But we'll just have to see until people dig up some more info.
Well, I think either way, the takeaway is that sunlight is the best disinfectant It's good to just get this information finally out before the whole world. I mean, this was a profoundly changing event on a global level, so it's good. This is progress. We're going in the right direction, and I hope to see more disclosures about MLK and others as well, because there are still some other lingering theories about the assassination of RFK, MLK, and others. So we'll have to see what happens, but I'm glad we were able to do this and sort of sort through this. And if there's any other information that comes to light with these files, we will absolutely be sure to discuss it.
Absolutely. And just one final thing, I think
Please.
it's great that we see President Trump delivering on his promises.
Absolutely.
So
Yes.
many of these promises that politicians make, they get into the office, they forget about them. He's actually doing it. Who would have honestly believed
Absolutely.
just even 5 years ago that the entirety of the JFK files would have been released under President Donald Trump? People would have laughed you out of the room, but he actually did it. He's a man of his word, and I love it.
Absolutely. Well said. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Riley.